some of my best business ideas come from just sitting and
Yeah.
being outdoors, like just, not having to, like you said, be caught up in the bustle of like, I got to make X amount, or, I've got to take on this many clients, but just like to get into that creative zone. I mean, I can look around anywhere in my garden at any point.
Hmm.
That's what I love about it. Like, because I'm an artist, like at the heart of it, on top of, doing marketing and design and all that I do,
Hmm.
I'm an artist, I'm a painter. And so the landscape gives me an opportunity to like come to a fresh canvas nearly every day.
Welcome to the Landscape Cafe, brought to you with support from Fort Myers Garden Service, maintaining and protecting business and residential landscapes. Visit FortMyersGardenService.com or call 239-990-7494.
And is the sound quality okay? Sounds good?
Yeah, sound quality's awesome on your end.
Okay, perfect. I'm actually just going to turn my phone so that I'm not covering the mic in any way, shape, or form.
Cool. So, man, tell me a little bit about your experience with being a gardener up north and then also coming down here. Were you a gardener up north, or what did that look like for you?
Here's what I'll say. My parents grew up taking really good care of their property. And my mom loved flowers. She loved trees. We had a beautiful Japanese maple in our front yard that was a tree planted for me when I was born. We planted a beautiful dogwood for my sister. And my mom had, annuals and perennials. And we were always just, my dad taught me, mow the lawn, help take care around the yard, do a lot of pruning. We used to have rhododendron bushes around the yard. And it was fun, but I liked it, but it was never mine. Like, it wasn't my garden.
Mm-hmm.
So, So when we came south and we finally, bought a place here in Cape Coral, my mother-in-law, Donna's stepmom, she was actually she had gone for training, was a certified gardener, and she wanted to just kind of inspire me and get me excited because, we bought the property. And it was pretty plain Jane, like most Florida properties, had the standard hibiscus and standard plants, a couple of them. It wasn't really done up in any way, shape, or form. So she and my father-in-law came down and planned on helping us just kind of do something in the front yard just to kind of jazz it up a little bit. And I loved the process. It was cool. I loved learning about some of the plants that she had brought over that I kind of knew and liked, but I didn't know the names of them and I didn't really know much about them. And she started getting me interested in the relationships between plants, like how you plant, how you space plants. I am a throw everything in the kitchen sink in all the time kind of guy. Just as an artist, I do the same thing. So it's been a combination of both. I've learned a lot about spacing and stuff like that with plants and crowding and things. But I've also learned a lot about just how to best way I could say it is how to mix colors together, how to make it look good, and all of that. So I have more ownership in it now than ever before, but I loved and I've always enjoyed my hands and in the ground doing stuff like that. Worked for a couple of landscape companies myself when I was growing up north, though I have terrible allergies, so I can't really do it. I couldn't do it full time as a job, but I enjoyed it. It's fun. I like being outdoors.
Absolutely. I totally love that. Did you do any of your gardening on your own, but mostly, or was it mostly your parents up north?
It was mostly my parents up north, but I was in charge of I would be in charge of weeding and getting things cleaned up. I would help my mom replant the new annuals, every year we do. I think up there it was more like impatiens and things like that. A lot of that kind of color.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yep.
What was similar from versus up there and down here? What was similar and also what was different? Was there anything that was like the same plants?
Not as much the same plants. I've fallen in love with vinca down here. I love them because they're very forgiving. Impatiens seem down here to burn up fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's been probably the biggest challenge. Is up north, you do have your seasons, and pretty much everything dies in wintertime, and then you got to wait till the following spring. But things don't tend to burn up as fast as they do down here if you're not careful and conscientious about what you're planting and where you're planting. So I didn't have as much experience up north with plant death as I have down here with having like kind of, figure things out. But I would say that the pruning is definitely similar. Like, you got to keep on top of, making sure that things aren't overgrown or, one, because they die off, and two, because they crowd other things and then stuff doesn't grow underneath it or around it. So that was very similar. A lot of the colors are similar. Lots of reds, purples, magentas, stuff like that. Though down here, I've been able to branch out even further with other colors, just because there's a lot more that can grow here easier in the tropics than necessarily in other places. There's more exotic colors and stuff on certain plants.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I do think that, having a love for gardening and just a general interest in it made it a lot easier to adjust down here. It can be intimidating in Florida if you don't really know what you're doing, because you can just, because here's the thing, all of the box stores, they just put plants in their stores to sell. Most of these plants are northern plants. They are not southern plants. They look great for a week, and then you're like, what's going on? And then they die off. And so the opportunity of being down here really was to educate myself, because I wanted a garden that was going to last and be a great garden year round. And I didn't want to have to be wasting a lot of time and money putting in things that just weren't going to make sense and weren't going to do well here.
Right. That makes sense. That's awesome. Man, little side comment. I just had and this is, as a landscaper, this is the best compliment you can ever get. Somebody just pulled up, because my office faces my front yard, and snapped a picture of my landscape. I was like, oh, sweet. Like, that's the best compliment anybody could give me right now. It's like taking a picture of our landscape. Like, some little bit older lady just came and did that.
It's one of the things I love. I love, because when I'm outside and I'm working in my garden, I will constantly get people who will stop.
Yeah.
And they'll compliment it. They'll say, oh my God, it's the most beautiful garden. As a matter of fact, it was really interesting so after Hurricane Ian, I was doing some walking around the neighborhood, and there was a guy way down the block from me. I didn't really know him before the storm or whatever. And I noticed that he had a really beautiful moonlight blooming cactus. It's a tall cactus that gets these beautiful flowers on it. And I was just complimenting him on it, that I love that plant. I don't have one myself. At some point, I definitely want to do it, whatever. We were just kind of chatting or whatever. Well, about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I come out of my front door, and there's 4 huge pieces of cactus sitting there, plus a bunch of bromeliads and other plants.
What?
And he just walked off. And he said, a little note that said, for my friend with the beautiful corner garden.
Oh, man.
Wow. I'm like, how cool is that? The people, and that's what I love, because I love when people come around and they just love to stop and look. It's a colorful treat. It's like something fun and different. Doesn't look like everybody else's landscaping. It is. It's the best it makes all the work, all the dirt under the nails, and all the getting up and bending over worth every minute of it when you get somebody who just gets to enjoy it.
Right. Oh, man, that's so cool. And you know what that does too, is that also unites us. I mean, otherwise, I mean, you could have talked to him about, the sports team or whatever, but a few months or a few weeks later, he's not going to come drop a football off at your front door, But I mean, how cool is that? That it connects people, connects neighbors, it connects people so deeply. That's
absolutely. I mean, there's so many cool plant exchange groups down here on Facebook. I've gotten involved with those as well. People really do get into it down here, and they love it. And I love even chiming in on those boards, or finding out what's the coolest thing that someone's playing around or trying out. You're right. It unites people in a really interesting way, and I love it. I love kind of being part of that community.
Absolutely, and it's so cool too, because some people that are not as familiar with landscaping don't realize that quite a bit of the plants that we use create pups. They create little babies, and you can break off those new babies, put them in a pot with a little bit of soil, and bring those to your mother's house or your friend's house. I've had so many stories from clients tell me, oh, this is from my great grandmother's house or my grandmother's or grandfather's house, and we brought it here and we planted it. That's the only piece of my landscape that um, is, that's a firm no on any changes. Right? That's going to stay in the corner there, and it's so cool, like to see how landscaping connects us as people, and just the sentimental parts of some of it. And something I was talking to one of our annuals clients about is our landscaping. It connects us to nature. It connects us to people, to nature. It connects us even to ourselves, because when we can walk out on our back patio and we see all these flowers around us, and then the flowers draw in the birds, and then the birds draw in the noise, just that white background noise. And then before you know it, you're in your own element, you're in your own world, you're thinking clearly, the distractions are gone, and creating that peace is amazing. And it all started with a flower. It all started with a flowering plant.
It all started with a flower. Speaking about just bringing together, I have a neighbor, catty corner next to me, and she's Hispanic. She doesn't speak a lot of English. She's originally, I believe, from the Dominican. Heidi. She's a sweetheart. I love her. And she saw me starting to, get into gardening, and she started bringing me clippings, from her yard. And it created an opportunity for us to get to know each other and bond, even though there was a language barrier. We've had a great time over the years. Like, we've exchanged plants back and forth. She loves to come, like, her granddaughter used to catch the bus in front of my house. So I literally put a bench in my front yard, and I told them, listen, this is for you guys to sit in when you're waiting for the bus. I want you to sit and enjoy my garden, and you have a place of shade when you're there. And she was like, oh my God, it was, just so thoughtful and whatever. But it's that kind of a thing. Like, you're right. It brings people it connects people. It allows us to appreciate nature together, and it allows us to create bonds that, I think are lifetime bonds.
Yeah, just so freaking cool, man. I love that story. And there's so many, and that's literally why I wanted to start this podcast, is because there's so many experiences or conversations, even if they don't relate to the garden or don't relate to the plants. I mean, what landscaping brings to the table is just unreal. It's universally wholesome, I guess you could say. That is awesome. Speaking of benches, that I've been thinking about sponsoring like a few benches throughout our neighborhood where we live, where my wife and I live, because that's such a good thing. I've started to see a lot of people start to drop them off because people are getting, unfortunately, it's early in the morning, and unfortunate things happen when you're waiting for the bus and nobody can see. But yeah, that was really thoughtful of you. I love that idea.
Yeah, no, and I think that's great to do that. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I see all the time. I'm like, wow, they put out benches for the kids and stuff like that, waiting for school, and I'm like, that's awesome. There's something there, and it gives you a chance to kind of, I don't know, just sit and appreciate your surroundings for a moment.
Right.
I mean, that's why for me, it is meditation, it's stress relief, it's peace of mind, it's clarity, it's a whole lot of things that I just can't, I don't know any other real place I can go to get all of that, like, in an instant. I can step out, like you said, I can step out my backyard, watch some butterflies, listen to the birds, and I am completely taken out of whatever stress I was in, whatever upset I was in, and I can just let it go and reconnect. And
absolutely. And it's not only it's reconnecting with many things, yourself personally and just the nature, but also I went to Costa Rica. This was 3 years ago, and it was very unique experience. The most unique part about it, I would say, is the environment, the vibe, if you will, was so different than where we live. Like, we live in America, everything's fast paced. Advertisements are coming in your ears through the radios. They're on your eyes as you drive down the road. Distractions are anywhere and everywhere. And we're, as Americans, we're used to that. That's just normal. And for me, I'm very go, go, go. So part of me likes the running around and going, going, going. But I experienced so much peace and disconnect from all the noise when I was in Costa Rica. I was like looking at America, I'm like, when I go back to work, I mean, I feel like I'm just in a rat race. Like, okay, this year we're at this amount of money. Okay, next year we're going to get to X, we're going to double our business in this next year. But at the end of the day, why? You know what I mean?
No,
yes,
I get it.
yes, it's fun to grow and, for necessities to bring your business to a certain point. But oh my gosh, talk about the different questions and thoughts that are able to come up when you can connect in your own garden and disconnect from the world. Holy cow. I mean,
I've literally had some of my best business ideas come from just sitting and being outdoors, like just, not having to, like you said, be caught up in the bustle of like, I got to make X amount, or, I've got to take on this many clients, but just like to get into that creative zone. I mean, I can look around anywhere in my garden at any point. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about it. Like, because I'm an artist, like at the heart of it, on top of, doing marketing and design and all that I do, I'm an artist, I'm a painter. And so the landscape gives me an opportunity to like come to a fresh canvas nearly every day. I've never had anything in my life that's given me an opportunity to be in a fresh canvas every day, which then translates into I can just create new ideas every day. I can be in this space and think of things in a new way every day because it's constantly evolving. It's always changing. And that I love. It's been, I will say my garden has been my lifesaver in the last 5 years that I've been working it. It has created new opportunities in business. It's created peace of mind. It's given me just incredible beauty. It's given me privacy in my own yard. Like, I love my neighbors. They know I love them. But I also love having the fact that I can sit in my backyard and I don't have to look at a picket fence. I don't have to look at, the road. I don't even have to look at a metal fence anymore because I left my metal fence up, but I've covered it completely with greenery. Yeah. So, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's, I'll even say part of it saved my house during the storm. I mean, my garden literally got beaten to death. Right. But the windbreak and everything that I have around my home, I think protected my house.
Absolutely.
It's a worthwhile investment.
The Landscape Cafe is a production of Pure Landscaping and the Niche Podcast Network. Learn more about Bailey, Katie, and the team by visiting purelandscaping.com. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, the best place to rate or follow the show is at thelandscapecafe.com. Thank you for listening in. Stay tuned for the next part in this conversation.